Hello, hello.
Hey Chrissy, how you doing?
Been a long time since we talked.
Yeah, well, I don't know, the time like in the middle of the day doesn't always work, but yeah.
I'm choking on my coffee over here. Thank goodness for a mute button. Yeah, so let's see how this goes. It's good to see Hex Factor and yourself here. We've got pharmacist here. What's up? I'm gonna follow pharmacist. I like to meet new people. Yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Welcome, welcome.
Chrissy, I think I will make a habit of just opening up a chat on Telegram whenever I'm at the computer. Even if I'm not participating, people can just come in and talk. Um, I don't know like what times people are on, but I don't want to like commit to sort of office hours, but like whenever, if anybody sees, the chat open, then just come in and talk, whatever.
Heck yeah. Same with the Hex Factor Marshmallow. If you guys wanna ever pop it open, and we'll keep alert when we see it on, and if we see anything funny going on, we'll make sure to take care of it. But I think everything's been going smooth when it comes to any of the live chats.
And also, like, if people, and I don't know, different groups are different, but maybe if somebody wants to explain something to another person in detail and they need to go into a chat, maybe there has got to be a way to say, hey, whoever's the admin, please open up the chat. We want to talk directly. Because, the bandwidth of communication on chat is a lot faster than typing it out, right? And a lot of people can just find it useful, even if there is no general chat open. So maybe there's a way to say, hey, tag at admins and say VC or something like that. We want to open up VC for the next like 30 minutes if anybody's available. Um, we can do it.
I had to disconnect and reconnect. Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it was getting this crazy echo and freezing on me. I'm back. So what I caught was the last thing you said I missed. I caught everything else though.
I was just saying that if the chat is not open, we probably want to have a way for people to request chat to be open. Like if two people or three people want to discuss certain thing, like I'm seeing very long threads on certain issue, and some of it is better said than written out, and so they can just say at admins, please open up VC for the next like 10-20 minutes. If anybody is available, they can probably do it.
Marshmallow, is there a way if we put at admins that it'll tag all of us? Is that able to be set up? You can comment too, Marshmallow. I know you're listening. We'll hear from him. But yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just a thought because I understand that people, I mean, it's all 24/7. People have different lives and whatnot. And sometimes when they come in, um, they just want to talk. So,
Yeah, definitely. Marshmallow is being funny by just typing out the word comment.
so, so yesterday was pretty interesting. Not price related. That's a separate issue. Somebody released the shares for a very, very large miner. I think the miner was 4.4 billion Genie. And the stake was basic and it was neglected for, I believe, I don't know, 11 or 12 days. And so somebody came in and basically said, all right, fine, that's enough of you forgetting. I'm going to release shares. And so that person got 20 million Genie per Robert, and OA got 1.5 million, right? So it was it was just interesting to see because like the burn rate for Avalanche went from 2 billion burned to 7. And so the question was, who created the 5 billion burn, and how did that come about? Did anybody do benevolence? So started looking into benevolence, and Robert started looking into that, and I couldn't find it, and he actually found that somebody did release the share. So I looked at the guy who did that, and he is consistently like hunting whales. I think he has ended maybe 2 or 3 different old stakes or mines or whatever the proper terminology is right now.
Yeah,
But
so make sure you use mining. Make sure we set ourselves apart because
yeah, exactly. I mean, it
that's
is mining. It is
yeah,
mining for sure.
this is mining. This is
Yeah,
what mining is all about, and now's the
yeah,
time for us to really step up and show people what mining is. I mean, Genius is not staking; it's mining, and we've got the opportunity right now to show people that you know all these hexagons are up in arms about uh, RH trying to rebrand staking to mining, but I don't know. I think it's kind of weird. There's like a talk going on right now. There's a space going on right now with two hexagons just going back and forth about is it mining or not. But now's our time to really speak up and show these hexagons what mining is. It's a genius mining.
yeah, for sure. It is definitely mining, even in the eyes of liquid staking. So we did a stint trying to put Genius into DeFi Llama, and the way they classify staking is something you do with a provider. Like for example, L1 network, like Ethereum, you come in and say, "Here's the node. I'm going to give you my tokens. Lock it into your, whatever validation thing you have, much like what Pulse Chain is going to do, and then you give me the rewards for me locking it up with you." Of course, you don't have access to my keys, but that's beside the point. the The idea is that I'm staking something with somebody. Here, you don't stake it with anybody. You're basically giving it to the contract, and the contract pays inflation for you. So it's definitely mining. You're mining for your time, and Hex is the same way. It's just, see, the problem with Hex, and I may go on the rant, but I promise it'll be a short one. The problem is every time they say things, it comes from 1 or 2 sources. It either comes from Richard Hart, and people just repeat it verbatim without understanding what he actually meant, or it comes from somebody in the community who is influential. And then a bunch of people just repeat stuff, not understanding what it is. So like I'm okay with them discussing, of course, like different things, but let it be their opinion, not some like point by point things that I've heard many times and they don't even understand what they're even saying towards that point, right? Like they argue points that are completely provable on chain, and yet they believe that some of the stanzas or some of the things that were said before are still correct. That's the problem that I have with them. And so, there's no like arguing with somebody who doesn't go back to the code, who doesn't read the white paper where it was explicitly stated that Hex will have an issue with gas fees. Back in 2019, when the audit was done, it's in the white paper. It's in the audit. They said you guys will have an issue with huge staking fees, or at that time it was staking, right? But like everybody's saying, oh, that's okay, that's a feature. How's that a feature if it was reported to you as an issue, and just because you didn't fix it, now it becomes an issue? That's the problem. That's the part that I'm having issue with, not the fact that the flawless operation or whatever. That's all good and well. Just state your opinion, not somebody else's. So just and coming back to your point, staking versus mining, like it's obvious it is mining. If you go to definition of not even SEC what mining is, but like the common definition in the space, in the DeFi space, in the crypto space, what is defined as staking versus what is defined as mining. And it has to be mining, right? Like what Genius is doing is non-custodial, peer-to-peer, contract to person, contract to wallet mining. You're mining for more yield. That's all you're doing. There's nothing to be staked there. Rent done.
Yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, we feel like the way it's described with Genius was on point early on, because you got to think a lot of the inventors and the people who are involved have been around since Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin. So that's the terminology for it. When you're yielding tokens, it's mining.
The idea of actually introducing the word mining in the white paper is powerful, because look what's happening with the CC right now. This is completely legal pressure for Richard to rename all of that, because if somebody comes back, making claims against, defrauding or operating under securities law. Even 4 months ago, everybody was saying, "Oh, Hex is immune because Howey test is passed, right? No expectation of profit from others, no common enterprise, no money changing hangs or any promises." Notice how Howey test, which was completely executed well, still does not protect Hex from any kind of claims, because the terminology that is used there suggests that even though the end product is not changing the money, the package that it comes in from a legal perspective, definition perspective, is still a common enterprise, because you're staking with somebody, right? And so that's very important. It has become very important, right? As much as we don't want to admit that SEC matters, it does matter when somebody comes to you with a subpoena. So why not just protect the users and protect the participants in the contract from the beginning? And I think that was one of the reasons why Genius in the white paper actually took mining as a definition of what that transaction is. And that is probably why when they went to get the legal opinion, it was declared to be a utility token, not a security, because the definitions actually matter, not to us, right? Crypto people, but people who actually write laws and look at the documents and can go to court and say, hey, staking is staking. This is what is assumed by it. And here's how we're going to treat it, regardless of what we may think of it. So it was a great thing that writers or whoever co-inventors of Genius have come up with, is to protect the project going forward for many, many years from those kinds of issues.
Beautiful. I wasn't around long enough for when Bitcoin came around and to know where the terminology came for Bitcoin. Because when I heard about Genius, that's the first thing it reminded me of when I heard mining. And I was staked in Hex, but I never compared Hex to a miner in my head because it was labeled a stake. So yeah, I've always, I got to look into that, or if anyone knows the history of the mining terminology with Bitcoin. That's that was my first imagery for it. Was like, oh, like Bitcoin. So sometimes when I hear people comparing it to Hex, yeah, maybe because it uses the word certificate of deposit, very similar to what Hex calls their stakes. When Bitcoin doesn't have those, have that, they would mine with machines to get their yield. I'm just wondering, yeah, where that came from with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and Bitcoin was going against gold, really. How do you make sure that you're actually mining something? And then, you when you create the product, you just basically need to onboard somebody who is closer to, who's the audience, who's your audience. Bitcoin's audience were the gold bugs who were consistently into sound money, right? And to show that it's kind of relating to relate to their ideas, it's basically a marketing term or a marketing ploy to come in and say, hey, you're mining gold, that's physical. Here you're mining truth and math, and both of them are scarce, right? So to get mining, to say you're mining is just a way to explain what you're doing. As far as like time lock deposits. Remember, certificate of deposit was not even like the first iteration of what Richard was talking about to create. He wanted to create the time lock deposit, did not know what to name it. I think it was like CDP or something like that that he came up with before, and only then it came to be a hex, right? Or hex Bitcoin first, and then it was hex. So there was the iteration of even thinking what that thing is. And when it was created in end of 2018, and it took like a year to come up with that, from my understanding, it's when the first staking started to kind of come out. You had master nodes at that time, where you had full nodes running with a copy of their chain, like Ethereum and Pivx and Dash and others. And so what you would do, instead of doing a protocol support where you can say your wallet and you just stake your coins on the network like you're doing now, which is quite easy, there hasn't been like that before. What it was like a bunch of computers that you're staking with, and a lot of it was even hot staking. You could not shut down the computer in order to keep your stake. And so that's where that thing started evolving. And everybody else then said, okay, well, what kind of staking do you have? Do you have protocol staking? Do you have application staking, i.e. contract staking, or whatnot? And then it started branching out into time lock deposit, into liquid staking and whatnot. So Hex was for its time, it was taking the definitions when they were being worked on. Could have they taken mining? Yes, but because they wanted to differentiate themselves from the mining Bitcoin community. Remember, Hex was given to Bitcoiners, but it was also given to them to lure them out of Bitcoin into this new product called Hex. And so what happened, they had to kind of show them that you can do that at the contract level by doing time mining. But they didn't call it mining, they called it staking. And a lot of Bitcoiners say, okay, that's crap. We're not doing it. We're just gonna come in, cash out, and get out of there. So what Genius did is basically going back to the roots of looking at the core functionality and say, we're not doing staking. We're not staking with anybody. We're not running master nodes. We're not even touching L1, right? All we're doing is just time locking our deposits or our Genius, and mining for yield. So from that perspective, the Bitcoin part was, the mining in Bitcoin was onboarding the gold box, and then Hex was luring Bitcoin into the contract level type of mining, but didn't call it mining. And Genius actually called it mining, coming back to Bitcoin and coming back to this whole, true way of actually getting yield out.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I never thought of asking that before. It didn't cross my mind. So thanks for connecting all that. That was awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. And I see some people I haven't seen here before. But if you have questions, feel free to ask. You can also drop it in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and take some time to put some links for the community site, which is thegeniustoken.com. Also, for those who are already Genius users, Jenny.best, which shows a lot of analytics that Shades was awesome to come up and make sure that we had those tools to utilize. And Simply Genius, because those videos are short, sweet, and to the point to learn about Genius. So I'm going to take some time to do that if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves or chat.
Yeah, shout out to Shades for putting together Genie.best. I didn't realize this. I just figured this out right now, that you can actually look at all 4 price charts in one screen. If you go to Genie.best /price chart, shows all 4. So that's pretty cool.
We'll do more. Some of it is also on the liquidity page. What I want to do is to basically try to So there are a couple of like strategic things. The one is tracking, and the other is sort of analytics. The analytics part is the on-chain for miners, for tracking the debt counters, for tracking how liquidity works, for tracking the debt pool, formerly known as stability pool, and all that good stuff. And the tracking part is for like liquidity and the marketing wallet and the OAB, which we need to hold them accountable where they move the money and whatnot. So those two verticals are going to be growing, and the third vertical is the portfolio part. The right now it's only mining portfolio, but I also put like maybe I'll put the like the liquid portfolio. If people have some in liquid, some in mining, you'll be able to kind of see that. But as far as charts, I charts in my mind, they're charts and liquidity. So in my mind, what I wanted to do is to give the price place for looking up the price, but also I'm going to try to go further and basically for what happened yesterday as far as like liquidity, who's removing, who's moving it where the money is flowing. So it's kind of easier to see um, like the state of the financial side of things, right? Like the participants, big sellers, big buyers, maybe even, well, there's part of it already there, but there's a way to improve it. Of course, is for example, limit orders that are placed on oneinch.io for Genius. Maybe we can go to like some form of a dashboard for that. So we're going to grow that part, but basically there are three verticals on Genie.best. Is the tracking part, the financial side, is the analytics for on-chain side, is the individual portfolio tracking for you, so you don't forget where your miners and you can kind of look at your earnings across 4 chains and multiple wallets if you have any, and it'll give you distribution of when, like, how are you doing with your money over there. So
Yeah, I'm looking at the site right now. So I'm just looking at the debt tracker, and there's in the far right columns. There's 2 columns here that show debt and market. So I guess, can you explain that a little bit? Like, what does that mean on Ethereum being like debt 1.25%? Does that mean it's better to buy from the debt pool?
yeah, so I don't have it in front of me, but I can definitely speak to what it is. So everything is looked from. So this is the what you're saying about what you're talking about, Hex Factor, is the arbitrage snapshot. Okay, and so it's presented from the perspective of a participant coming into the pool seeking either to buy debt from it, i.e., borrow miner, collateral miner, or sell or settle Genie into the collateral pool or debt pool and get the collateral back. And so, from that perspective, because if you open up other charts in there, you will see how the debt pool operates. But basically, it oscillates up and down from the market value of Genius on the open market. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. The up and down part means different things for whether you are a buyer from the debt pool or a seller into the debt pool, right? So for you, when you're settling something, you want to get higher price than the market, and that's denoted by green. And if you're seeing red, means that on that side, it's not preferred for you to come in and settle, and it shows you how many, like how much, what's the percentage of uh, preference you're losing if you're doing settling to the pool. On the flip side, if you have green, that means the price on the market is lower than the stability pool or debt pool is providing you. And here's the percentage of what you're gaining or saving in this case from the debt pool. Conversely, if you are coming in to borrow miner, the green means that you are under market rate, means it's cheaper, right, to come in and grab it. And by how much? So
Okay.
you can kind of see where your opportunities are. And if it's red, meaning that it's not favorable for you to come in and borrow a miner at the price that the debt pool is offering to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, currently see that like on Polygon, uh, it's in your favor to redeem 63.9% above the market rate. So going back to Genie.app, or can we see how much Genius
Yes.
there is to settle?
Yeah, for sure. If you trace that, if you select that record from Polygon on that in that table, you're gonna have, I think it's the third or the fourth column from the beginning. It'll be the set how much Genie is available to be settled or something like that,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
Now, the 63% to me, that tells me that's very little to be settled there. Maybe
Yeah.
0.5 or whatever. You can still come in and do it. The question is it worth for you to do that with the gas fees you're going to pay? Um, the reason why I'm saying it tells me that's not a lot is because every time there is something, the offer comes on the market to settle Genie, somebody comes in within 15 to 30 minutes and settles them.
Yeah.
So if you see for a long time that you have opportunities, that means either it's economically less favorable for you because of the gas fees, or the amount is just not worth it. Like for example, what's 5,000 Genie? Right now it's not much. However, when the price moves, then obviously you're gonna have a lot more traffic for 5,000 Genie, right? But that's how you basically say you sort by your preferred method of interaction with the debt pool, whether you want to sell to it or borrow from it, and then you see how much is available. It can be 10,000, it can be 100,000, it can be a million, right? And then you basically say, all right, if it's less than the market or it's more than the market, depending on whether you want to settle or borrow, then it's a no-brainer to come in and get 20% discount on it, right? So that's why this arbitrage, some people literally sit in the debt pool and get very cheap collateral miners versus going to the market, spending the collateral, buying Genie, and staking it themselves or mining it themselves, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically a dashboard to give you an option not to go to the market. And it was proved useful yesterday, for example, when the liquidity was yanked from underneath the token, but the debt pool was providing opportunities to get cheaper Ethereum miners. And so if you had DAI or if you had Ethereum, you couldn't buy anything on the open market. You'd go to the debt pool and say, I don't really care to get Genie from open market. I just might as well just get it from the collateral that I have without a fee, and I'll still get 90 to 180 days that I wanted originally. Right, so it's kind of like it's an outlet for a different way of interacting with the contract.
Yeah.
All good questions though.
Yeah, and it's updated. I'm assuming it's updated like every 15 minutes. Or...
15 to 30 minutes. It doesn't really matter when it updates because what happens, the pool has, well, it does matter, but not to that precision. The pool has a decay counter, and what that means is basically like every 14 hours or 15 hours, the pool says, all right, has there been any interest in borrowing Genie or settling to the pool? If not, then I'm gonna drop the rate, or I'm gonna up the rate depending on which side you're playing. And so eventually, if you go to one of the charts on that page, there's a debt pool, and you're gonna have like market rate and emission rate and redeem rate, and you will see that it's a stair step in motion where it goes either up or down depending what the contract thinks the interest is, right? And so like as long as we cash it every 10, 12, 15 hours when that counter flips and gives you a new rate, we're good, right? But because we don't know when it's going to happen, we're kind of buffering and saying 15 to 30 minutes increments.
Okay.
So we're just collecting to be kind of in the money within like 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed it on Ethereum. You try to redeem ETH, and well, there's nothing in the there's no unsettled debt to redeem for ETH.
Exactly.
Right.
Somebody has come in and done it, and so it becomes a game of chance who's the fast to kind of, and every time you redeem, you basically drop the, or you signal to the pool to drop the rate, because there's interest that it goes up, right? If you come in, then somebody else may come in, and if more people come in, that means it's too much demand, I'm going to drop the rate.
Okay.
But then conversely, I'm going to incentivize the borrowing, because it works like a seesaw. That PSR rate is a seesaw.
So then you can get more. So from the borrowing side, you get more when there's more interest in redeeming. Is that right?
I have to look at the charts. There are various scenarios. I don't even try to predict where it's gonna go. I just look at the numbers and see, is it favorable for me? What is the trend? Like if you look at the Avalanche, right? Do you remember a month ago, Avalanche was all the rage. It was very cheap. People were going getting collateral miners. It was like 20% on the market. Everybody was like, okay, it's no brainer. Well, they've done their job, and the rate went way up over the market, and it went dead for a week or two because nobody wanted to obviously pay more for their collateral miners. And so you could see that every 15 hours it goes down, down, down until it meets the market rate, and then it drops below. And then again, people start coming in and seeing that, oh, the market pays 0.035 and the collateral pool pays 0.025. All right, I'm gonna start participating again. And by participating, that rate goes up, right? When the rate goes up, the other side kicks in and says, all right, well, I have too much collateral. Why don't I just stage it by offering that collateral to the other side to settle? And if there is interest, then it settles right away. If there's not interest, it drops down and gives you discounts or sale until somebody comes in and does that, right? So that's why when Robert says liquidity on the open market has to meet the debt curve, meaning that every single liquidity on the market will have to churn through the pool, and by churning through the pool, it will be backed by that collateral.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and there are charts in there that show you that curve, and we're pretty much flat on liquidity because a lot of it is staked in advanced and basic miners, but our debt goes at like 10%, 10 degree incline, which means in some time those curves will meet and they will be, first equal, like debt will be equal liquidity, but then if it flips it, or when it flips it, that means that there's no liquidity on the open market, and the debt pool will govern the ratio, which is going to be like a curve stick for the price, right? Because it'd be harder to buy from the open market due to lack of liquidity, but it will be also somewhat challenging to buy because the opportunities in the pool are not always available. So what people are going to do, they're going to stand in front of a collateral pool counter begging for miners to end and scraping those genies off of those miners that are, or they will go to a market and they will say, I want 10,000 genie, and somebody will say, all right, fine, here's 20% premium, you can buy it off of me, right?
Yeah.
So the tokenomics is the wheels are set in motion. We're just not there yet, right? It will take time to get there.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So from what I understand is whenever there's a collateral miner made, where's the burn happen? Can you explain like what happens with the burning pump burnimental with a collateral miner?
I have to look at the exact thing in the white paper, but basically, you get paid. So what do you call it? Collateral miner, you have it, but it's not active, and so yield gets accumulated into the debt pool, right? And then I believe upon issuing the miner to you, some percentage of it gets burned. Of course, I think the NFTs are also tied to um, to burning things in the collateral pool outside of the actual burn that happens during auctions, outside of the burn that happens during late mining fees, outside of the burns that are happening with, like we were seeing yesterday, the release of the shares and so on and so forth. Now, Robert would have to go into the exile part because I don't fully understand it. I know it's stashed in there, and so it kind of fluctuates. Like when the miners get settled, the burn goes down. When the miners appear, then burn goes up. But I don't have a code for it. I can't really look at it, so I have to kind of rely on what he's saying, what happens inside of the pool, and or going back to the white paper again to kind of read and figure that out. So I think it's a question more for Robert, like the real details on the burn inside of the stability pool or debt.
Yeah, I just like that there's burning going on too, because that just
I mean, there's burning and there's exile, right? And there's difference between the two. The exile part, I kind of understand that is being stashed in there. But the mechanics of it, like the percentage of it, I don't know.
thank you.
Yeah. So there's burned and there's also unburned, because apparently when you have when you're about to get rewarded, like from the pool, I think temporarily burned inflation, it needs to go somewhere. Like the inflation needs to go somewhere. If you have 4.22 whatever percent getting paid to all the miners, like advanced miners and collateral miners, which are pretty much the same by policy, they're just different disposition. One is an open market, the other is collateral backed. That genie that gets generated has to find its way somewhere to be stored. And I think that's what, when it gets stored in a dead pool, it's considered to be burned for all intents and purposes. But then when the miners get like when you end your miner, that burn gets like minted to you as a reward. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I look forward to breaking this down more with Robert too. This is good stuff, man. We're in a bear market, and what day are we on Genius now? I didn't look.
I think 80 or something.
I'm looking now. Well, and we have so much to look forward to. And the Burnamentals, Pumpamentals is growing, community's growing. We're getting there, guys, and it's, if you think about it, with the time that's passed, it's moving quicker than it could, you know. Let's not.
Price is the least important thing for me right now, to be honest with you. As much as I don't want to sound like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Of course it does. In the end, it does. But in order for us to get there, we have to have all the technical components in place. And this contract is just out of this world in terms of what it does and how it actually manages the pump of rate and interest. It may not be like obvious, because if you're looking at the price in the market, and it fluctuates, it dumps, like you're saying, it's we're in the bear market. But in the end, like when people accumulate genie and become scarce enough, and it's going that way. If you look at that curve, I was saying it's like 10% incline from liquidity, or from debt up towards liquidity. This is when we're going to jump. And the question is, how much Genie do you have for that jump, right? So to me, like I was saying that before, and I think I will repeat it, is the name of the game is get as many tokens as I can, regardless of the price, even, right? If it's cheaper, great. If it's a little bit more expensive, I will wait to get it from collateral pool. Like if I have, let's say I have $100 to spend, and today the debt pool is not favorable to me to get a collateral miner, because at the end of the day, while I wait, I also want to get paid, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Instead of having, let's just say 10,000 Genie for $100 in my wallet just sitting there, I might as well mine with it and get the burns shared, get the fees shared, get all the things that you guys understand, how Genie pays. Now, my preference first, if I have $100 of DAI or Ethereum, is specifically to go into that pool and seek opportunities there. Why? Because if I go to DEX, to open market, I have to pay fee to the LP that is basically saying, all right, you want it for a dollar, I'm going to give you for $1.10, and the 10% is going to be my slippage. Well, instead of paying that slippage, why don't I go to the collateral pool or to that pool, and I basically, if I see 10% opportunity, I will not only I will not pay the slippage fee as I would on the market, but the pool will actually pay me discount or coupon on me coming in and getting collateral miner cheaper, but the end result is the same whether I buy it on the open market by spending my $100 of DAI and staking it and mining it for like 90 days with advanced, or I take my collateral to the debt pool and basically get my miner for the same 90 days without paying any fees and even getting discount. Do you see what I'm getting at? So basically, a bunch of people are congregating around the debt pool trying to figure out who can get Genie faster from there, not even playing the open market if they don't have to. Of course, I will go to the open market is if I need it right now. Like I need to spend $100 of DAI, and I need to get a good rate on Genie. I'll do so, but my preference will be a twofold. First of all, not paying the liquidity fee or the slippage to the open market LP, but actually getting discount from the debt pool. And the second is I'm contributing to this curve, right? Kind of curving upwards. I am contributing to grabbing collateral miners and removing Genius from the open market. So it's it's really amazing that the system is actually put in place. We don't necessarily see it at the moment, but there's going to come a day when there's going to be shortage of Genie on the open market, and collateral pool is going to be the one that you guys are going to play with.
I can see why um, centralized exchanges aren't that important here, because if it's all going to be locked up in collateral miners and in the pool, and we talked about this before, like people who are already experiencing crypto, first thing they're going to do is go on like a deck screener or something like that, look at the volume, look at the liquidity, look at everything like that, and it's like, you want to check out our app and our Jenny.best, because there's the numbers. That's where it's at, and whatever's on the market, that's going to be the price it's at, because it's so uh, scarce on the open market. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to get there with liquidity and all. But you see, like when people are saying, I'm just like checking out the charts and I'm looking at the price and it's not doing so well, it's maybe quarter of the story. It's kind of like a dangling carrot in front of a horse to go in a certain direction, but the real thing is happening in the carriage.
Yep. Yep. More education
Yeah.
so people understand what we're doing, because we're just learning, and having more of the content come out and educational items is gonna help us thrive with people understanding what they're what they're doing, because it is like the white paper's what, 60 pages, 61 pages.
Yeah, and I think that there's also some pages that are still in development that explain the debt versus the exiled, and really like defining and pointing out what exactly is being meant by debt and what's being meant by exiled, because not everybody has a really good grasp of what that means. For example, um, when we have debt that's not settled, that debt must always return to the stability pool where it is exiled. So that to me is difficult to understand. But when that happens, like when Shade says that when there's not enough liquidity, you have debt. When you end that minor, that unsettled debt gets, those Genie principal gets sent back to the stability pool where it's exiled. And so that's
Taking the taking the cut out of your settled miner, out of ended miner, right? So basically,
right.
you're burning of every. So here's my take on it. We haven't seen that working yet because we
Right.
haven't got to the first 90 days, right?
Right.
It's hard to see. Like I'm going into the chart and it's big fat zero where it says clear Genitos. But I'm actually looking forward to see how that's going to work and how that's going to affect the burns, because my understanding is that every miner pays if it retrieves like every time you end the collateral miner, you either get Genie or collateral. If you do not get fully Genie and you need to get the collateral, you pay a fee because you need to return more Genie into the pool because you've borrowed that Genie from the pool.
Right.
Like out of what you've made plus yield, you pay the loan back, right? And then out of that loan, there is this fee that comes out, and that gets stashed in the stability in the debt pool. I keep saying stability pool in the debt pool, and it gets there forever, either by like no, well, not forever. Some of it goes to the OA, right? And the other thing gets either helped to like put the offer for the settlement on the other side. And these guys are on the settlement side, they're coming in, they're also paying the fee to be able to settle. So the debt pool makes fees on both sides. It's like a market maker that
Yeah.
basically makes fees off of each of the trading things. But you're right, the question is the fees that it gets, how much of it completely irreversibly lost, meaning burned, exiled, whatever, stashed, however you want to call it, right? Or it gets in the open market in the form of inflation, like for yield, because you have to pay yield to people who are borrowing, right? And that's the thing that we're gonna see with clear Genitos when the first 90 days miners will start showing up, or will start will will be ending in about 10 days.
Yeah, but look at this. You have the collateral fee, and it's 1.85% total. But when that gets annualized, that's 7.39%. So those fees, when they're annualized, they're greater than the annual inflation rate, like 4.23%, whatever that is. So I think that's how it's going to work, is that these fees are just going to overtake the annual inflation, and more we'll see, uh, you know, the exiled tokens, and those are gone when they're exiled. Um, I don't know. The way I understand it is when it's exiled, it's no longer accounted for,
Right.
right?
And that's great news, which means that the token will become deflationary
Yeah,
or disinflationary, right?
yeah,
Now, you add all the distribution for late and early ended miners to the population of advanced miners and collateral miners, right? And then you get the liquidity that seeks arbitrage in a debt pool that would otherwise go to the market. And you kind of see where, the debt pool is going to be pulling a lot more money into it, either in the form of borrows or in the form of collateral that gets to back that, the Genie that gets paid.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got the burn, so it should be interesting. I mean, I don't have all the answers as far as like we haven't seen half of the story, but just going by the charts, and I'll do a separate video on it. Is I mean, I don't see how like. Oh, one more thing, by the way. Did you notice that it's over 50% locked in miners?
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
amazing.
That's huge. Yeah.
It's insane. Within the first, I think within the first 60 days, everything was locked and making yield. So yes, your particular yield or my particular miner yield is lower because so many people are locked. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, that has removed a ton of liquidity from people's wallets. And that's why, like, I would rather rely on this metric when people are interested in making their own money, rather than look over my left shoulder and look at the OA holding 90% and not letting, more than 10% stake in Hex, for example. Because where else would you get the liquidity to stake? Only from OA that holds 90%.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I don't really know like which way it's going to go, but it definitely is not going to be, like at some point the price will have to rise, or there's going to be less genie available.
Yeah, that's the latter is going to happen. And I don't know if there's a way you can show all the collateral fees that are being paid and where those fees are going. Because I mean, are they going to the null address? No, they're staying in the stability pool. That's the point. Is when those fees go to the stability pool, they're staying in the stability pool.
Yep.
And I don't know how else to define it, but it's, I guess, that they're no longer being accounted for. They're exiled,
Mm-hmm.
and that's different from being burned. Because they're not counted in the burn supply, and that affects the annual inflation rate. So you have this just two different mechanisms that are, almost making it deflationary over time.
It will. It will, because what happens, and I think it's in the white paper too. By the way, I can't show like drill down into stability pool. It's just like it's a black hole. It's
Yeah,
part of the reasons why they did not open source it, right? Because it's like, I mean, bread and butter of this whole Genius setup is the debt pool. There's no question about it,
yeah, yeah,
you know. Uh, but think of it this way: all the miners still get 4.2% inflation, with number of miners increasing, but at the same time, the stash or exile Genius in the stability pool removes the removes the supply, that needs to be paid out, and yet people still need to expect 4.2% getting paid out to them. So I I really don't know where, like I'd love to see the simulation for it. I think Robert has a simulation. He said that he will at some point actually show how that curve, like he'll basically speed up the market and see, different simulations, like if it goes this way, what happens, if it goes that way, that happens. And what I could gather from what he was saying, not even seeing the numbers or the curves, is that pretty much in 90% of the time it'll just hockey stick at some point, earlier, later, depending on market conditions, depending on liquidity and whatever. But at the end, those fees are taking away liquidity and never giving them back, like you were saying, is the exile part. Yet everybody will get 4.2% generated.
right, yep.
So
And I don't think you're going to see that happening until a year goes by, because
probably.
you have a 1.85% is the collateral fee, and then that doesn't get up to 7.39 until it's annualized, so a year later, and then you start to see that all those collateral fees exceeding the annual inflation. So I think it's going to take at least a year for us to figure this out, or to see it happen, and to see the overall results of this debt pool, because it's brand new. I mean, nobody's ever done this before,
Yep.
and we have no idea what's going to happen.
No, we don't, for sure. I mean, we can get tangential idea and kind of like presuppose it would happen that way. But I am looking forward to Robert looking at or showing the simulation, or at least talking about it. And then I'm just thinking in my mind, like simply, if Hex did 10,000x without having all of that token, like strong tokenomics, just having the OA trying to hold the price up and not letting go, I just wonder what Genius will do. I mean, I don't know what it will do, but like all the signs are pointing to the fact that we already know it's going to be deflation in one way or another, either by the debt pool or the fees or the number of miners or all of that above, right?
Yeah.
We already know that some people release shares and they get paid, or rewards for late miners get paid to all the stakers or all the miners, all the advanced miners. We know that. We've seen it yesterday. It worked well. We're going to get good rewards on that, right? So more people see good rewards, they're going to come in and mine more. If you mine more, you lock more supply in. Even without the debt pool, you lock more supply in, right? Because there is no reason with having a basic miner, even if you're very sheepish of getting into advanced, you basically get free money for no sweat, right? The only reason the only problem is that you may wait for like, I don't know, 10% of your time, but that's a very small price to pay in the 90 days or 30 days, right? Like you wait 3 days, 4 days, under a week basically to try things out. So, but those things are locked. And the other thing that Robert was saying, and I kind of charted it out, there's a chart on average mining length, like mining length, right? Right now we're running about, I want to say, like 900 to 1,000 days for an average advanced miner. So basically, if that's true, if the collateral miners are part of it, meaning that we're not going to see full emission of like all the genius coming out in 90 days, we will keep gradually emitting out of the debt pool, which means that there's not going to be too much sell pressure from that side. If the more average lock-in time is, the harder it is going to be to stay at the counter and beg for genie coming out of the collateral miners, right? And so and so like it would be interesting to see if people start locking up for more and longer, and the more they do so, the smoother the emission is going to be. So there's not going to be like volatility, lock unlock, like in swells. Like first 90 days will probably be a different story because everybody kind of do not know what to look for. They did not know what the lockup is. 90 days is a good number to try it on, or actually you can try it even less than that. But right. So for the 90 days, I think we're going to see a big unmine, or get big unlock, but not for those miners that have already locked for average of 1,000 days. Right. These guys are staying. If they're not staying, they're on mining, and they're paying us the miners' fees. So even if the price goes down by a lot of unlocks and selling, the fees that we get by emergency unlock from whales like they did yesterday is going to compensate for it, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's all speculation right now. I mean, really, I think I'm just looking for two things, and as you're saying, and I agree with you, is going to be sometime like out in the future, maybe 180 to 360 days where those curves kind of meet. Obviously, the market conditions will either help or hinder the speed of it, right? But I'm looking for two things: for increase of debt curve into the liquidity, decrease of liquidity, more things, more genius getting locked in miners, and the average miner lockup growing. Those are the three things that I'm watching, right?
Yeah.
Price is is just is noise for now. If you're looking at 180 days to like 365, 700 days out, which what 2 years, 1.5, 2 years. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It only matters whether you want to spend your $100 die coming into the market and getting more genie, or you want to grab it from the debt pool. That's what I care about. That's all, right? No selling from me because why? Because I'm waiting for this curve to come up.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Yeah, for real. I mean, yeah, we're gonna be looking at that liquidity and wondering why is it going down when we're supposed to be in a 4.23 annual inflation rate, but it's gonna be crazy to see that actually going down over time. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. Now, where do you see that on your Genie.best site? Can you track the liquidity?
Yeah,
Right
if
here.
you drop down to tracking, and it will have, like, I think the first or the second option, there's going to be debt and liquidity.
Okay.
If you click on that and then you select the chain and then you select the graph, there's going to be, I think the second graph is going to be curve of supply versus debt.
Is that
Right.
under analytics or are you under tracking?
Analytics,
Okay.
debt and liquidity. So debt and liquidity is more of a high level overview of things that are going on in the system, and debt tracker is the debt pool itself.
Okay.
So
Got it. Yeah. For some reason it's not coming up for me. Maybe I'm clicking the wrong thing. Clicking chart. Ethereum.
no, you gotta select the chain. Click on the chain.
Okay.
They're
All right.
interested.
Okay, there we go. Now, what about this like whale tracking? How did you find out that whale that burned or did proof of benevolence or whatever happened the other day? Like, how do you track that? Those kind of
So
functions.
so this specific instance, somebody tipped me off and they said, "Hey," so I posted some charts on Twitter and they're like, "Well, have you seen what happened in Avalanche?" I'm like, "No." I mean, I don't watch charts all day, right? So I went to Avalanche and I'm like, "Holy crap." It went from 2 billion burn to 7. Who did that? And at the same time, the basic miners went down. So I'm like, okay, somebody benevolently ended a very large basic miner, and that's what created the burn. So I couldn't put two together. I asked Robert, and he just basically went sleuthing for it and came out with the answer that somebody actually did release of the fees. And so for you, if you go to like on the same page where you're at, debt and liquidity, the last chart is going to be, well, I'm not sure last or the first one. I don't know, but I'll post it out. Um, there's going to be on Avalanche specifically. There's going to be basic versus burned, and you can zoom in and you will see like two divergent lines, one going 50% up and the other goes 50% down. So that's when that happens, and so we kind of started looking into that.
Okay. Now, is that the supply versus? No, it's not supply versus debt, is it? On your
No,
Genie.best.
supply versus debt is what we talked about, the two curves meeting up. There's also like the first chart, like in the row of charts.
First one. Okay.
First one, yeah, you'll see like bunch of colorful lines.
So yeah, so supply emission. Okay.
Supply mission, and you can see on the bottom there's basic, which is green, and burn, which is purple,
Okay.
and you'll see them diverging at some point. You can actually drag like a bounding box around them, and you can zoom in and kind of see what's going on there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do a video on those things. I'm just saying that, like, those are the things that I'm watching because it's available, and like it gives me good understanding of where we're going, like at this high level.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I see how to do it now. Yep. That's cool.
Cool.
Well, thanks, man. Good talking to you. I gotta go check
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Me too. All right.
Anybody have any other
That's it.
questions? Yeah, I'll leave the mic open.
Okay. All right. All good questions. That's what we want to talk about. How things are going, like in numbers, and where we're going with that.
I'm still here. I just had you muted while I'm on the road because I ride
Yeah.
a scooter.
No worries.
So
No
I was
worries.
listening while I was riding. I'm actually meeting with a local genius holder, and we're going to dinner. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to this, and they'll be listening to it on our way over to dinner, so we can chat about it after. But yeah, it's been a great hour. So if anyone has any other questions or want to chat about something before we close it out, but that was awesome, guys.
Yeah, Christy, thanks for opening it up. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. Yep, I'm gonna keep it rolling. And thanks, guys, for keeping it moving too with the community. This is just the beginning. We have 10 days till day 90. We're on day 80. This is like a newborn infant that we're just getting to know. All right, I'll talk to you
All right,
guys.
y'all. I'll see you. Bye.